Hello, everybody, and welcome to Whimsically Wicked. My name is Haley, and I am the whimsical half.
And my name is Daria, and I am the wicked half.
Welcome to another episode of Get Swapped.
Yes, finally another one. We haven't done one of these in a while, actually. Couldn't think of it.
It has been a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one was fun, though. We're going to start off this episode with some upcoming reads that we're both really excited for as we get into the summer and like some releases and all of those things. And then we're going to hop into a book that Daria recommended to me. It was a college hockey romance called The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy,
Yes.
which I just finished.
Literally, she's been walking around my living room listening to it as I put her boyfriend to work putting up a new chandelier for me.
Yes, you are exploiting my boyfriend right now. He is currently outside doing housework.
Yeah. That is the policy when you're a new homeowner and a woman doing it by yourself. Exploit everyone who walks in the door. Do they have a skill set you can use? Put them to work.
Well, the problem is he's been a homeowner for 13 years.
Yeah, exactly. He's got all the skill sets I need, except for I need an arborist, but that's a different problem.
What is an arborist?
They cut down trees or like trim them and stuff.
Yeah, let's not get my boyfriend to do
Yeah, no, that one I would prefer they were like insured for that.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Some books that we're looking forward to. I only have a couple of them right now because I feel like I'm preparing for them and they're just like big worlds and stuff. But the first one, in 4 days from now, it'll already be out by the time this episode airs. But Impact Winter Season 3.
Oh yeah.
We're both going to be reading those fully
Yep.
because we're going to do an episode on it. But I love this little series. It's only on audio.
Okay. I'm excited to give it a shot. I love that style of audio where it's like a full movie. Graphic audio is one of my favorites. Like if I can get a hold of the graphic audio, I will
Yeah.
because I love them. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, this one's not graphic audio, but it's got the same feel to it. There's really good voice actors. It's not an actual book. It was directed by Travis Beacham, who is the Pacific Rim guy.
I did see that.
Yeah, and it's really well done. There's some really notable voice actors in there. It's a vampire apocalypse book. So there's 3 seasons, a little bit of romance associated with it, but basically vampires have taken over after this like terrible storm. They've always been around, but this storm has removed all of the sunshine from the world. So now vampires can take over as much as they want, and all of the humans have been compiled into like basically hiding. And that's kind of the story. It's a really interesting premise. It's got like teenage vampire structure vibes. Like you've got kind of the head of the vampire council and the big scary bads, and the oldest ones are the most powerful. But it is really interesting, and the audiobook's really, really well done.
Ooh. Love some vampire vibes.
Yeah, so that one gets released on July 18th for season 3. You gotta listen to the first 2 seasons first, but they're literally 4.5 hour listens.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Not at all. Like you're gonna crush both of them in a day.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and then the second one, this doesn't come out for a while, but I am really excited for Stormlight Archives 5. I just don't know if I'm going to get through as many books as I need to by then.
Yeah, I have to do re-listens to the other books just because I haven't read them since Rhythms of War came out.
Oh.
Um, so I'm like a little foggy on the details. I remember the big things though.
Yeah, and I need to figure out because Jake and I are now in the Cosmere. I'm actually pausing on the Cosmere. I didn't tell you this.
Oh no.
I'm pausing. He just finished Mistborn. So he's got Elantris Warbreaker and Way of Kings plus a few short stories before he's caught up to me. And I kind of expect Words of Radiance to be like the best book that I've ever read. I kind of feel like that's probably pretty close.
I don't remember what happens in each book anymore.
Yeah, but I'm really excited for that. And so I'm going to wait for him. I've started to read the second trilogy of Red Rising, Iron Gold.
Oh, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I can never get into that one. I've tried reading it like 3 or 4 times at this point, and every time I DNF.
Yeah, you've told me that you've really struggled with it. I'm probably 50 or 60 pages in right now, and it's fun so far, but it is hard to get over the like hump of it's been 10 years. I have all these new characters. I don't really understand the state of the world right now.
I think my problem with it is 10 years passed and literally no character growth happened in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They're still children. And I didn't like that.
Okay.
I just thought like 10 years of like post-war, you're like trying to rebuild this empire, like you would have matured a day.
You'd kind of think, hey.
But if anything, they regressed.
Mm,
And I didn't
okay.
like that with it.
Interesting. Yeah, I still really like Pierce Brown's writing, and I'm interested in the story, so I think I'll enjoy it. But I'm curious to see how I like it compared to the first trilogy, because the first trilogy is
Phenomenal.
so freaking good.
Yeah, I love that one. I've reread it like 3 or 4 times at this point because I really enjoy it. And then every time I've tried to then jump into the new one, and every time I've been like, you know what? I'm just gonna make my own ending for this.
Yeah. So I've paused Cosmere. I'm gonna pick it back up probably like September. I don't think we're gonna get there by Stormlight 5 release because I also don't really know where Stormlight 5 is gonna fall in my reading order. Like, is that after all of the books that are already out, or do we place it within? I don't know yet.
Based on what I remember, you would have to have read everything released up until Rhythms of War before reading Rhythms of
So,
War.
Mistborn Era 2, Secret Projects.
Secret Projects, no, just because they're after. Like they only got released this year or late last year.
Okay, so definitely Mistborn Era 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then all of the other fun stories in that world. I'm missing a Mistborn because it didn't get released until like a couple months ago, I think.
Edge Dancer is 2.5 in, so I'll have to do that one. Um, Alloy of Law, that's Mistborn Era 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it's Alloy of Law, Shadow of Self, The Bands of Mourning. I think it's that one called.
Shadow Wave Self, yeah, The Bands of Mourning.
And then The Lost Metal,
Okay.
which is over there because it's in the wrong edition. I need to get a new one.
Right. Okay, well, so I don't think we're gonna get there by the time it gets released, but we'll see.
I'm really curious to see what you think of Wax and Wayne for Mistborn Era 2. I actually like Mistborn Era 2 more than Era 1.
That's crazy because I liked Mistborn Era 1.
I I'm also a really big fan of like murder mysteries and police procedurals on TV and
Got
stuff,
it.
and that is not the same as the other ones.
And Era 3 hasn't been released yet.
No.
But it's coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then Stormlight has 10 planned books total. I think it's a decology.
Yeah, something like that.
Interesting. We're going through this episode with no internet, so
Yeah, there's no Googling
no
things right
fact
now.
checking.
Because the chandelier is on the same breaker as my internet.
Yep.
It's fine.
It's fine. All right. Well, those are kind of my two big notable ones. I feel like I'm in big fantasy series right now, and so the rest is going to be like romance books for this podcast.
What do I have on the docket? Oh, so 2 people mentioned the word Twilight anywhere near my phone in the past months, and now all my Instagram feed has been Twilight. So I've officially finished rewatching the entire series as of last night. And then I messaged my friend Danielle, and I was like, "Hey, I need let me see if I can grab the exact
Those
quote.
movies get so much worse as you get older.
I will do a whole reaction series on it as an adult with my thoughts on it.
I could do that with Jake because I'm making him watch them.
It's just so wild. But I texted her last night and I was like, 1, this is your fault. 2, I need less pedo Jacob and Ratchet set vibes for book recommendations, please.
You texted me that?
No, I texted Danielle
Oh,
that.
not me. Okay.
I'm not asking you for werewolf shifter recommendations. So now I got like 10 books in there that I will report back on.
Okay.
I will say one of the series or 2 of the series
Sorry,
she recommended
werewolf
I've read.
Matt, that's what we're.
Yeah, we're diving into that.
Okay, great.
BM Clementon's Blackville University, I actually just posted reviews for.
What
Great
are those?
series. Love it. It's like it's a Why Choose Monster Academy style series that has like fated mates and everything in it. So that's what I was aiming for.
Okay.
Shadow Beast Shifters by Jamin Eve, also a great one that she recommended to me. Also great book series. It's really cool. It's a really unique
You've read those ones already?
concept. Yes. And then she sent me Zodiac Wolves is the one I picked to read out of the list. And then I also am reading Golden by Shannon Mayer right now because I have the Arcane Society versions coming.
Okay, so sorry, Zodiac Wolves, is that part of the Zodiac Academy?
No, this is a very different
Totally
series.
different. Okay, and then the other one, the Arcane Academy?
It's called Golden.
Golden. But the Arcane Academy, is that like a universe or
No, Arcane Society
sorry.
is a custom, like a limited edition book box that you can get that I subscribed to. And their April May books were Golden and Glitter by Shannon Mayer, and I hadn't read them before, but they were on my TBR, so I was like, guess that's happening. And then also because of Arcane Society, I will be reading slash listening to L.J. Andrews' The Ever King series, which I believe is a pirate romance of some kind.
I feel like there's not a ton of pirate romances out there.
It depends on what you want out of them. There's a few. I think there's not that many. Someone like Nikki St. Crow does a version of Peter Pan. I don't know how piratey it is. I haven't read it. It's on I actually have it out from the library right now. And then another one would be also not pirate, but Hooked, which is
I
up
was
here.
just gonna say I was curious if Hooked has anything to do with actually the setting of Peter Pan or if they just took the characters and made it something different.
Took the characters. They're still smugglers and stuff like that,
Okay.
but they're not like
Pirate.
actively pirating on ships.
Interesting.
I could be
There's
so
actually
real.
something there that I think I want to talk about next episode, but we'll do that later.
Fair. Pirate ships are gross. I don't. It's really hard to romancify those when you're like you don't get to take a bath in anything but like rainwater for 6 months.
And where, like, I'm not fucking on those beds.
Yeah, and it, like you're probably a little seasick at least once or twice because that's hard not to be. And it's just you and a lot of men and not a fun way.
I think Pirates of the Caribbean really messed this up for us because we all kind of fantasized Jack Sparrow.
Yeah,
Big time.
and like
Johnny Depp, like, come on.
yes, yes, and he was shockingly clean for what he did as a profession.
Exactly. So, like, we were all like, oh, we want
Pirates.
pirate smut, but I don't, well, I never said that, but I can see where, like, Pirates of the Caribbean, we want pirate smut because Johnny Depp is hot, but then the logistics of it is like, wait, no.
You're more likely to get something like Aquaman-y, where it's like mermaids or sirens or silkies as the fantasy setting for water-based smut.
Yeah.
Sounds like people are getting peed on, but you know what I mean. Not those kind of water sports.
They might be.
You're swimming in the ocean, so
yeah,
you could swim through it, I guess.
I guess.
A decently sized repertoire of like mermaid and siren and stuff smut that I've read, but not a lot of pirate smut.
Yeah, well, it makes sense though. It's gross.
Yeah, I just never. I think it's really hard to romanticize that setting.
It might be fun to try and find it.
Find one that's good. I'm sure I could. We'll see how the L.J. Andrews one pans out.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm really excited for that one. It's a really highly rated series.
Okay.
And then things on my TBR that are sitting here that I need to read. I still haven't read Leather and Lark.
I started that one because I read it for our first ever podcast episode and I didn't hate it. So I saw that it was on Spotify Premium audiobooks. I started listening to it and I think I maybe got an hour in and I stopped.
Oh. I didn't like the audiobook for the first one either.
Okay.
I feel like her books are really good written.
Yeah, because I found myself enjoying it written a little bit. I don't know if I enjoyed it enough to want the sequel, but maybe I could try reading it physically at some point.
Yeah, because that's what
I
I'm
don't
doing
know.
for it. I also find people are really bad at Irish accents, and
Very bad.
I manage an Irish person. Some of my best friends are Irish, so they are one of the accents I know well enough to be like, this is really taking me out of it if they don't do it well.
Yeah. Well, I dated an Irish guy for a little bit, and the accents aren't matching up
Yeah.
in that series of the audiobooks.
So, yeah, they almost... I haven't actually listened to Leather and Lark's audiobooks, so this is just me throwing shit at the wind, but, like, they just overplay it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it too aggressively Irish?
I also think, because I'm reading a decent amount of romance books for this, there is an oversaturation for me. I can't do it over and over again. I need breaks between my romance novels, and I need variety in the story.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because in that one, the sequel, like, it's different characters, but it's the same setting, and then they all just mesh together for me. I can't tell the difference.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What's the other? Oh, I also have Reckless by Lauren Roberts to
That's right. That's
finish.
the young adult that's powerless, right?
Yeah,
How is that?
I really like Powerless. I thought it was really well done in the respect that their banter makes it so you don't even miss the smut. If you're someone like me that jumps from like pretty smutty books into YA, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a somewhat unique story. The writing's really good in my opinion. I do have one friend who didn't like it, and her biggest critique for it was like the female main character is kind of one of those like she has no powers, but she is also overpowered at the same time.
Okay.
So she like can do everything
Yeah.
in a way, but without being able to do anything at the same time. It's a weird dynamic.
I do like young adult fantasy. That's one that I could maybe potentially give a try.
But yeah, I enjoyed Powerless. I read it as my 900th book for Goodreads, and
Ooh.
then The Invisible Life of Ada LaRue ended up being my 1000th book on Goodreads.
Exciting! And that's going to be our next Get Swapped episode.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one. And on this episode of Get Swapped, you recommended me the book.
Yes, I gave you The Graham Effect. And I did something to you again that you didn't enjoy the last time I did it. And this is a book that takes place in a full universe. So
Yeah.
Graham Effect is the same idea as God of Fury, where it's the children of a previous set of books going through life together.
Oh, so Hannah and what's his face? I literally just finished this book.
Yeah,
Graham.
they have their own book. It's called The Deal, and the I think it's called the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy,
Okay.
and these are their kids. So a lot of the characters they bring up when they're like, that's one of the scenes. That we can actually talk about it, but a lot of the main characters they bring up that are like her dad's friends are all from that series.
Yeah.
And then this is a mix of their kids and new characters.
Okay. Interesting. Well, let's start with what the book is about. We'll do spoiler free as we usually do at the beginning, and then we'll go into spoilers. Um, this book is a college hockey romance between Gigi, who is the daughter of the famous Graham. What's his first name?
Garrett.
Garrett Graham, who played for the Bruins. Their dog's name is Bergeron.
Yeah.
And he is like getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's super famous, and she plays hockey growing up. And Luke Ryder, who's kind of the opposite. He came from a rough home, kind of got a dark history. He's also a hockey player, and he is a player on the uh, rival team for the Briars or the Briar University.
Briar University is the one they are at in the book.
Yeah, so he was a player for the rival university that shut down, and then Briar University took over the whole team, and they had like these tryouts, and now you have this rival team half and half into the new team.
Yeah.
So he's on there. She's just playing at the same university for the women's hockey team. And they had met, I don't know, when they were 16 or something like that at one of the camps that Ryder was at of her dad's camp. And she was practicing early and they met. And he was like, "What are you, figure skating?" Which, first of all, I don't understand because the skates are different.
I know. That's what I was thinking when I was reading it too. I was like, I don't know who tries to figure skate in hockey skates because that's a whole different vibe.
It would have been better if he was just kind of like degrading her a little bit because it would have at least made sense. But he was like, "It's not figure skating practice," and she's literally in hockey skates.
Yeah.
And probably in hockey pads or something. Like, those sports are visibly different.
Yes.
So already pissed off about that whole meeting. But he was an asshole. She was whatever, and she starts calling him prom king because he started calling her prom queen. And her name sucks, by the way. Gigi, come on. But anyways, then he starts naming her Giselle because he was making fun of her. And then they don't meet for years until he comes to the Briar University campus.
Yep. I think that about sums up like the
Yeah.
setting, and yeah, the whole story is about figuring out the way the team dynamic works with that.
She also dated the captain of Briar University, Coulson.
Yeah.
And he is the captain of the team that Ryder comes on to,
Yes.
which adds complication.
Yes, because then they end up having to co-captain it to try to like create team bonding
Yeah.
and all of that. Because obviously that didn't start out well for them, which I think was hilarious. The whole team bonding uh, setup gave me flashbacks to work, especially back when we had to work in the office. We used to do shit like that all the time, and
That's on brand.
I was like, holy crap! Yeah, like yeah, flashbacks.
Yeah.
So many flashbacks.
Hmm.
Because you never had to work for this company in an office.
No, I didn't, but I was on basketball teams, a lot of basketball teams
Yeah,
with a lot of high school women.
and it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the team bonding bullshit made me laugh a lot because I was like, I've had to do this before.
Yeah, me too. I did a lot of it with our basketball teams. What did you think of this book? Spoiler free.
I like this book a lot. I gave this book, I believe my Goodreads rating for it is 4 stars, and there were a few things that went into that. One, I loved having a female main character who could be at the top of her game, amazing in the sport she's in, but still have her femininity and be unashamed of that.
Okay.
Because I find a lot you see in like professional sports, those women take on a lot of masculine traits. I'm not going to speak to why. I have no idea. But I'm sure there's a level of ingrained misogyny in there that causes that to happen. And I just really enjoyed a female character who's like, my favorite things in the world are butterflies.
Yeah, she did like her butterflies.
And like she had shit in pink and she was like, I'm a girl and that's fine. I can also play hockey better than like 90% of these guys.
Right.
And I loved that. So I really appreciated that and having like that being a really big focal point of the story. Also because her hockey career takes the forefront of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not all about Ryder and his career, which most hockey books are. They're like very focused on the guy, and she's like the girl in the stands cheering him on. Like he was in the stands, he was cheering her on.
Okay.
He was like, "This is how we get better at this game." Like I think that I really appreciated too, because I don't see that very often in hockey romances, if ever. I don't think.
So is usually, again, this is my first hockey romance ever. I don't read these very often. Um, to your point about the femininity of Gigi, are they usually more masculine facing in these hockey romances?
No, no, the women are definitely really feminine, but they're never athletes too, or very rarely also athletes. Like
So the hockey
usually,
romances are usually just the man playing hockey.
yeah, it's usually the guy who plays pro sports. Like I'm currently listening to Liz Tomford's Windy City series,
Okay.
and two of the female main
That
characters in
that's
that.
not about Lethbridge, is it?
No, it's Chicago. It's a cool series though because it covers hockey, basketball, and MLB
Oh,
baseball. But like two of the female main characters in that one are flight attendants for the teams. One of them's a baker, and one of them is a team doctor.
cool. Got it. But they're
Um,
never usually the ones actually playing the sport. It's always what is the WAGs? Is that the
Yeah.
acronym? Women and girlfriends,
Wives,
wives and girlfriends,
wives and girlfriends. Yeah,
of sports. Or I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah,
But it's usually like they're not actively playing the sport too. So I
got
thought that
it.
was a really cool way of doing this one where they're both playing that sport. It's not like you can talk down to her about it. It's not like she couldn't have that like engaged conversation about both of their home lives, I guess, or
Mm-hmm.
work lives, because at the end of the day, they do the same thing.
Right. Yeah, and I guess that appreciation is probably different for me because I didn't find her overly relatable because she was still super feminine and she liked butterflies. I was like, that's cool. I don't.
Yeah.
um but I did appreciate that the like you said, her career was really focused on during this book more so than Ryder's was, and I can say that I appreciated that.
Yeah, because also Ryder's career was basically set in stone already. Like he was going to the NHL.
Yeah.
He was fine. He was just kind of like trying to get some achievements along the way.
Right.
Versus her who is like fighting every day to make a name for herself. And I really thought it was a cool look into women's sports as well, like
Mm-hmm.
the different stakes involved. Like Ryder doesn't really give too much of a shit. He's gonna go make $10+ million a year playing in the NHL, and her only goal is to get onto Team USA, which ain't gonna pay her shit.
No. They'll pay for travel and things like that, and that's about it. But It's funny that you say that because one of my biggest complaints is that I didn't feel that it focused on hockey in general enough. Like, I was interested in the story, but and this isn't really a critique about the book because I knew what I was getting into because it's a hockey romance. Like, you're going to get the romance.
Yeah.
But when they were exploring the team dynamics of the male team and her career and stuff, I was like, I'm more interested in that than the sex that they're having or the romance. And I was like, but they're on the ice, and like they're practicing drills and things like that. Why is she hot and bothered and thinking about sex? I don't care about that. I want to talk about the hockey. And so I think that's just a preference thing for me in terms of the romance. I was just more interested in the non romantic side of things, and they kept bringing in romance, which is unfair of me to say because it's a hockey romance.
Yes, that was definitely a personal thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say, as far as like hockey romances go, this one was much more sports forward than a lot of the ones I've read.
Yeah, okay, so a lot of them are just like, this is a hockey romance. They were on the ice last night, but like, we're not going to talk about the hockey game at all. We're just going to talk about
Yeah.
the romance. Yeah.
Or like more of the internal struggles involved. Because a lot of the books too will focus on insecurity, which I think this one
Right.
also
Yeah.
did, where like even if you are the best, I don't think anyone or not very many people still think they're the best.
No, I think the best athletes in the world, and this is speaking from somebody who's been in a pretty elite space in athletes in real life. Um, the best athletes in the world almost have the most self doubt.
Yeah. So a lot of the books are around the struggles for that too.
Because I have a good friend. She's my teammate. She's going to the Olympics for Team USA for Olympic weightlifting, and that woman is the strongest woman I've ever met, and she is incredibly talented and incredibly hardworking. Her one thing is that she struggles with self doubt and self confidence and believing that she deserves to be there. And I think there's a level of humility that is required to reach to that level. Like, you can't have the ego that some of these people do have in order to reach that level. But self doubt is the biggest problem of these elite athletes too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of romances focusing on that piece a lot and like helping characters like work through whatever causes that and like help resolve, I guess, some of that like self doubt in some
Mm-hmm.
ways. Which I also really appreciate because fucking imposter syndrome is a daily thing for me. Every once in a while, Kyle gets messages to me from me all the time, being like, "Can I do this?" And Kyle's like, "Absolutely, you can do that." And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that."
Yeah, because it that filters in, like, sports just in general teach you so much about life, and those things filter into no matter what you're doing, whether it's self doubt, whether it's hard work and discipline and all of those things, and routine and recovery. Those things apply to your everyday, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think this book did a really cool way because you also like Ryder has some self doubt. It's not really in his ability to play the game; it's more in his ability to be a good person. Um, but Gigi's self doubt is definitely in like her worth as a player, how much she
Hmm.
can achieve, if she'll ever live up to her dad,
Yeah.
which is a crazy expectation because that would be like, can I live up to McDavid or Gretzky? Like he's that level of
Right.
elite in the game. So, but then there's like, and obviously like he doesn't know she has that expectation on herself, so he can't really help her with it. But
Hmm.
I know that was a big struggle in the book too, which I thought was really interesting
Yeah.
because they're like this year we saw was it two NHL players kids enter the league through the draft.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
And it's like I can't imagine the pressure those boys are under.
Not only pressure, but also that constant question about, am I here because of me or my dad or my
Yeah.
mom,
Did I
right?
earn this?
Uh-huh. And that's something that Gigi struggles with in the book. Like, she has all of these networking opportunities, and like, her dad knows everybody, part of the Olympic committee and all of that stuff, who are making decisions about going onto the team. And I think that question of, am I good enough, and am I here because I'm good enough, or am I here, or am I getting these opportunities because my dad, you
Yeah.
know, is it the name? And you see Gigi constantly try to escape that name as she goes through the book and try to like distance herself from it because of that.
Yeah, like her name is on the rink they play in.
Yeah.
And that is just you can't not look at it
Yeah.
and see it and have it thrown in your face on occasion.
Yeah. But what I think I struggle the most just about romances in general, and I decided to listen to this instead of actually physically read it. And for fiction, I generally prefer to actually read it. I just haven't had as much time lately. I just find, and this is maybe a personal thing, I find them super unrealistic in the sense that they are literally always thinking about each other and literally just always thinking about whether it's sex or just the way that they make them feel or how I feel about this person. Like it's on their mind almost 100% of the time, at least for what we see in the book. And it's distracting to me because I'm just like, yeah, but you all have cool lives too. And I want to hear about those and I want to see all the different dynamics. And it's just always thinking about the other person and sex. What my question to you is like, what is so attractive about those books?
I think it's the thought of finding someone that you can't stop thinking about.
Mm,
Because I think that's kind of what you're looking, or at least I would be looking for in a partner, is someone who, like, even if I'm doing something else, I would still kind of in the back of my mind, like, be wondering, thinking about them in
right.
that sense. And then wanting someone who's also doing the same for you, like
Yeah.
having that equal levels of attraction, having someone who is that interested in you,
Yeah.
that, like, when you're doing something, you're like, oh, hey, you know what, like, Daria would probably really enjoy this too. I'll text her about it. Or I'll ask if this is something she'd be interested in
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like that into her and want her to be that much a part of my life.
Yeah. And I think I do that currently. I think that that is like in the back of my head. I'm always just like whether it's a motivation to, like keep myself accountable to doing like to being a really good person so that for that other person or just like, hey, what are they doing? I miss that person and things like that. Like I'm obviously in a long distance relationship and I actively miss my partner and things. Um but what I don't think like I'm not always thinking about like the sex and all of the like that person hot and bothers me and like oh I'm doing this really normal thing and all of a sudden a sexy thought comes into my mind like it's almost distracting to the actual side of the book that they have to point it out every time. I think about sex often for sure, but I think if I'm reading a story, I don't want that to be the primary thought in every single chapter, and that is in romance books.
Yeah. Well, I'd also preface this book with like these characters are 20.
That's true.
They I thought about sex a lot more 10 years ago than I do now in
I
my everyday
guess.
life.
Yeah. Well, and like you just can't in everyday life now. Like as adults, it's
Yeah.
like I got shit to do and I have to like even if those thoughts come into my mind, which again they do, it's just like you got to put them aside and like go and do your other stuff and focus on stuff.
The rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it like I guess in that case, is it just an escape thing? Like, hey, I want to be in these people's minds where they get to think about fun stuff and like,
Absolutely.
okay.
They don't have to worry about my 9 to 5.
Yeah, that's true.
They can worry about each other.
Uh-huh.
Also, they're actually in a romantic relationship, which I am not.
Yeah.
So it's like that vicarious thing too.
Yeah, that's fair. Um I will say smut and audiobooks is not for me.
That's yeah.
Yeah. And because I brought this up to you a little bit ago, and I don't think it's the dirty talk thing. I have no problem with dirty talk. I'm whatever, like, but I want to keep that in bed when I'm doing it. It's like if I'm going on a walk, I'm just going on like a little hot girl walk to the dog park. There's families there with dogs throwing fetch, and all of a sudden in my ear, it's they're doing stuff and it's very like vocal and stuff. I'm like, that might be hot in bed. It's not hot for me right now. And it's
Mm,
like, it makes it cringy for me. I really struggle to listen to it when it's not, when I'm not actively doing it.
that's fair. I listen to audiobooks 24/7, so like walking, grocery shopping,
Yeah.
I fuck meetings at work. Sometimes I'll just have an audiobook on underneath my headset because I know I don't have to pay that much attention.
Do you think you're desensitized to it a little bit?
Um, maybe. I also very sex forward, I guess.
You are, yeah.
So it doesn't really bother me.
Okay.
And I grew up in a household, not that my parents were doing anything weird or un like they shouldn't have been, but like I
Right.
also grew up in very sex positive households.
Okay.
So
So
like
is
it wasn't like it wouldn't be an unrealistic conversation to have a conversation at the dinner table about sex
got it. Okay. Mine was
because
not like that for sure.
yeah, so like conversations around sex or like things like that have never bothered. Like my mom knows most details about my sex life
Right.
because it'll be a conversation we have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's not an active thing for me.
So I think, yeah, personally, like I grew up in a place where it was never going to be a
Right.
problem, so I don't really notice it.
So hearing it and like listening to it just on a normal day-to-day basis doesn't make you cringe. It's just like, yeah, this is normal conversation kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's harder to listen to when it's not like I'm actively doing it, which I think I'm good with. Like I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Like that's I think a preference thing for me is that but it's an audiobook thing. Like I think that when I'm physically reading those books, um it's less cringy for me, but it's also sometimes good too. Like I enjoy them more when I'm physically reading it on a page. So I don't think it's a like actual smut thing. I do think I enjoy it every once in a while. It's an audiobook thing. Like because when I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm doing other stuff. Like I'm making dinner or I'm going on a walk or I'm cleaning my
Yeah.
house and it's just like whoa. Whereas when I'm reading it, it's like I'm sitting on the couch. I like this. I'm in the mood for this a little bit more.
Yeah, you're in the setting you want to be in to
Yeah.
experience that. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
I so in preparation for this episode, I actually went back in Jackie and I's conversations on WhatsApp and read through what I had sent her while listening to these.
Okay.
And I was on a walk. And I remember, and I'm not going to say what it is in this segment, but that scene I made you make sure you listen to.
Okay.
I was like walking down the road and I like physically stopped and I was like, "What do you mean?
Yeah.
What did you just say?" I'm like
Uh-huh.
screaming to myself on the sidewalk and I'm like, I have no shame about it at this point. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. And
Were you happy
Oh
or
yeah, I was like,
okay?
wait.
Maybe I've just become like a little too domesticized or I don't know, too not fun. I was like, what do you mean, young lady? Like I went full parent on that scene.
I will say that like out of all of our friends, I'm the most likely one to have done what they did.
Uh-huh. You are.
And yeah, so like I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a like relatable piece too because I don't think I don't know your perception of it. I don't think I would do it.
I think at this point in life, if I knew I knew,
Okay.
I might.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm also not a person that was gonna have a big hoopla about that either.
Right. Yeah. I still don't know where I stand on that. I don't think about it enough.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I've been in enough relationships that well, I got in one relationship that almost got there, and I was like,
Are we ready for spoilers?
I think we are.
Okay. Well, if you have not read The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy, we're going to have spoilers for that book. So pause, read it, come back, or if you don't care, keep listening. Are we going to do spoilers for the whole universe? I'm never going to read them.
Yeah, we can do spoilers for the whole universe.
Okay.
So I'll throw Dixon Rule and then a little bit of Off Campus in here too, but I haven't read Off Campus, so I don't know that much about
Sorry,
it.
what was the first one you just said?
Dixon Rule?
Dixon Rule. I thought you said Dix and something, and I was like, that's the title of the book. Great.
No, the second book in this series is Dixon Rule.
And who's that between?
Diana and Shane.
Okay, I could see that coming.
Yeah, they do like a whole friends with benefits to lovers kind of thing. Friends to lovers.
Yeah, because in this book, they definitely kind of got there.
Yeah, they had some good banter, and then she had that shitty boyfriend. Who
Now,
gets shittier with time.
right, and I think we need to we will start with Shane. They teased that threesome so hard that I was actually kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And then just like Gigi was down, I think,
She totally was.
for a threesome with Ryder, Shane, and her. Or like even Beckett, I think she would have been down for.
Yeah, I would have done it
Ryder-
with Beckett.
Ryder would have been down with both of them. So why didn't we do that?
I think because she knew what she was doing with the rest of the books. Because Beckett and then, oh, what's his name? The other dude he keeps having threesomes with.
Will?
Yeah, Beckett and Will have their own book that is MMF.
Can't believe I remembered that name, but okay.
Yeah, so Beckett and Will do get together, and then they have a female in that throuple as well. So that's the third book.
Hmm.
And then the second book is obviously Shane and Diana.
Okay. Right. Interesting. Yeah, I kind of wanted the threesome. I was looking forward to it at that point. I was like, if we're doing this where like they're having sex everywhere, they might as well do the threesome. I might as well just listen to
I
it and get
know.
over it.
It would have been funny. I think that would have been a good time. I think it would have made him getting together with Diana a little awkward because that's her best friend.
I don't know, man. I They all seem to be pretty open and talking about it, and
This is true.
you know, like because I think at this point Gigi and Ryder were pretty solid
Yeah.
in at whatever point, like by the end of the book at least, they were super solid, obviously. I think Shane just would have been the accessory, and Shane, by the sounds of it, would have been okay with that. I think it would have been up to whether Diana would have been able to see it that way.
There's also, again, spoilers for Dixon Rule. Shane is not actually a fuckboy. He really hates it.
Okay.
So he is like, he's going through an era because that's kind of like what's expected of him after.
So he wouldn't have been okay with
So,
being the accessory.
yeah, he wouldn't have enjoyed that.
Okay. I didn't get that character development in this book, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I don't think it's really in that book either. You kind of get his mind in the second one, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that might be one of the things that I struggle with romance books a little bit, is that the character development is completely focused on the main characters. I don't get side character development.
No.
Whereas there's certain writers that I think do a really, really good job at building character development with such a short period of time. Like Pierce Brown is one of them. Brandon Sanderson is always also one of them. That just like you get character development even though you don't get their point of view. I don't think I get that very much with romance novels.
No, they would be very couple focused,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you know, like the author knows that those people will be coming into the next books.
Yeah.
They're unlikely to develop them in the earlier ones just because they're going to have to spend so much time
Yeah.
doing it there. And then, like, you could develop him in the first one, but then, like, what do you do with him in the second one?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And the writing style in general, I think, is something I struggled with in this book. Like, there was a line. I was listening to this as I was walking, and they were in the locker room, and she was showering, and she forgot a towel. And they still hadn't fucked at this point, but they had kind of decided that like, he had proposed to her that she could use him
Yeah.
for sex and just for her release or whatever. So they hadn't started sleeping together yet. And she went to shower because the woman's locker room was miraculously closed
Yeah, yeah.
for some reason. Like, that's like the one bed in the hotel room trope. It's just, oh no, it's closed. We have to use the same locker room.
Yeah, you gotta throw them together somehow.
And so she's showering and she's like, Ryder, I forgot my towel. Can you bring me one? And his response to that was, my cock went stiffer than my hockey stick. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
That reminds me, I wrote this one down because I remember texting it to Jackie with the Boxing Day beatdown hardness estimate thing.
Yeah.
Was fucking hilarious. Because that would be like if you were naming off, like, on Boxing Day, you're gonna get to go skate with like McDavid, Hyman,
Yeah.
Dreisaitl. Like that's the lineup you get to go play with for your fun little Boxing Day thing.
Uh-huh.
And then him just getting progressively more turned on.
I know, because he was like
so funny.
60%, 80%. And then she's like, and I will be there. And he's like, 100%.
Yeah.
And then the words were, I brought her down on my hard cock or something.
Something like that.
Like, that's the stuff for me that, like, in bed when I'm actively having sex, sure, it could be hot. Like, I would say that I'm fairly progressive with that stuff in bed. But when I'm just walking around your house and my boyfriend's fixing your light fixture and Revan's barking around, I'm like, this isn't matching the scene here, and I can't do it.
That's fair. I guess there's like a level of dissociation between like books and sex too,
Yeah.
where like I don't necessarily see them as the same thing.
Oh, okay, maybe that's the reason that I don't like it as much.
Yeah, because I don't like self-insert into that very much.
Oh,
Like I don't think about like what, yeah.
I'm I'm there.
Yeah, so like for me it's like when I read a fantasy novel, like it's a window into a space. It's not like me in a space.
Oh, I completely plot myself down.
Oh, yeah, no, no.
I'm there and I'm like visualizing what it is around me. I'm in a whole different world. This is why audiobooks and fiction don't work so well with me.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I listen, like, yeah, I constantly have noise on in my house too. Like, there's always music or something is playing, or like YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I'm really good at like, I guess, yeah, dissociating it out of actually being where I am.
Right.
It's just background noise,
Interesting.
especially
Okay.
in audio format.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I think that actually makes a lot of sense as to why I struggle with them so much.
And I don't know if that's just a result of like constantly listening to these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily. I listen to a lot of my high fantasy via audiobook too because I can comprehend it a lot better that way.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, it's just background noise.
The thing with the high fantasy for me is that I stop and I go back and I read something that I think is impactful and I'm like, oh, that's important to another magic system. I have to make another connection. So I have to like pause it and then I have to go flip through my other book and make the connection, figure out where it came from. Like I'm building this magic system and theories and stuff while I'm reading it. And with audiobooks, it's really hard to stop and go back. And
Oh
like I
yeah,
have to reread stuff all the time.
I think
That's
I would.
why I'm so much slower at reading fantasy than I am at this stuff.
That's fair. I think for me, it's probably a dyslexia thing, where like I'm not gonna remember it anyway
That's
if I
possible.
read it. So like it has to be via audio. That's the only way I'm gonna make those connections. Otherwise, if I'm reading it, it's not gonna comprehend that it happened somewhere else.
And honestly, we're the total opposite when it comes to that because I am deaf in one ear. And so there's a lot of words and stuff that almost mix together, like certain sounds I don't hear as different as I think most people do. Obviously, I don't know the difference, but in the research that I've done, like I struggle with certain sounds that work together and
Okay.
I struggle with background noise. So when somebody's talking to me and there's a lot of background noise, I often can't tell the difference between the actual person talking and the background noise. And I have noticed it a little bit with like graphic audiobooks that have sound effects in the back that I start to not be able to hear the actual person speaking. And so that's also like we're almost the opposite in that because for physical books, that's where yours shows up from an accessibility standpoint and it's
Yeah.
audiobooks where mine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. No more audiobooks for Haley for these is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'm physically reading all of the romance books that you recommend me from now on. I think really hurt my perception on this one.
Yeah, that's fair.
The voice actors also were not the same as what they would have been in my head.
Oh,
I don't think that they hit for me.
really? Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God.
It was a little too
'Cause this one's
because they had two voice actors.
yes.
Ryder was a male and Gigi was a female. Gigi was just a little bit too like it girl for me. She was a little too sassy, a little too whiny. I don't think I would have pictured her that way in the actual book.
Okay.
Yeah.
CJ Bloom, I haven't listened to a lot of her work before. Teddy Hamilton is my favorite audiobook narrator of all
That's
time.
Ryder's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have listened to most of the books he's narrated,
Interesting.
and they slap. He's so good. Yeah, Teddy, Aiden Snow, Alex Kidd. And there's one other guy on that list whose name has totally escaped me, but yeah, they're all extremely talented.
Yeah, this isn't the first one I've struggled with. I think this goes into all the other issues I have with it because when I was listening to Leather and Lark, same issues. I think it's honestly, I just prefer to have my own voices in my head, but
Mm,
that might also be how I dissociate from it. Like for you, it's just noise in the background, or you're able to just like hear the words and let it be that. I immerse myself into those things, and maybe reading it physically actually helps me do that.
oh yeah, probably.
Yeah,
That makes
because
sense.
it's another step further away from making it real.
Yeah. Oh, I wrote down a fun one.
Oh, God.
Uh, they have sex in some pretty choice places
Oh, they do.
on campus, which I think is hilarious because I went to university at Simon Fraser University in Burnaby,
Okay.
BC, and I have I've heard people have sex in the library before. That was kind of normal. That's whatever. But we had this statue on campus called the avocado, and it basically looked like you'd cut an avocado in half, and like part of it had like been pitted out.
Fun.
And one of the traditions was having sex in that. I don't know. It was a weird thing, but I know multiple people who did it, and I just thought it was hilarious because I was like, that really tied it back to like an actual university experience. What I would deem pretty realistic for university students.
Did you do it?
No, I didn't.
Daria.
I mean, I was with that. I was
Yeah.
with Justin. He was really fucking
Oh,
boring.
right. Okay.
Trust me, if I had been single and or dating during university, I 100% would have.
Totally.
I have 2 friends that did though.
Nice.
But yeah, I just thought that was funny because I was like, I guess if you hadn't done university, it might feel like something that doesn't happen, but like 100% people fucked everywhere.
Oh, I fully believe that.
Everywhere.
Absolutely.
And then my favorite result of that was Shane's porn addiction,
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny.
which I thought was hilarious because he kept covering for them, being like, "Yeah, I was just watching porn."
Well, but that's also part of the reason. Like, the only character development we got out of Shane was that he was being a bro to Ryder and covering for the fact that they were hooking up, which fair enough, because
Yeah.
that would have been catastrophic if everyone found out that they were hooking up. But he seemed so nonchalant about it. And what I think would have been better if Shane didn't actually feel that way about it and he was actually like hating being a fuckboy, if they would have given just some body language or some comment or something that would have that would have given him some character development in that, where
Yeah.
he was feeling resentful or he was like weirdly accepting of it, except for it was just kind of the way it was and whatever. I think that there was potential to do some of that, because the way that it was perceived in this book was that he was just having a good old time. He was like, I don't care, whatever, like I'll have the porn addiction.
Yeah.
That's what people think of me. I have no shame. Like, that's the character that I got out of it. I think it could have been done better just with a little bit of like additional body language or character development.
Yeah, I agree. Especially after having read Shane's book and knowing how he felt about it at the time,
Yeah.
I feel like we could have dropped some hints there that he like maybe
Yeah.
wasn't fully okay with everything that was happening.
Right. But it was funny.
It was really funny. And I think it just kept getting better too because they kept doing it and he kept covering, and then finally the coaching staff was like, "We're gonna have a PSA about porn addictions now with the whole team," and everyone's like, "Fuck it, Shane."
Well, because Beckett trolled on him
Yeah.
jacking off in the library when it was really just Gigi getting some head.
Yeah. And then, of all people to report it, Beckett, I was like, what do you mean, Beckett?
Right.
You're the biggest man slut in this house.
Uh-huh. He should have been like positive about it. He should have been
Yeah.
good for you, man.
So, like, I can't tell if Beckett was just being a piece of shit in the, like, this will be hilarious sense, or if he was, like, genuinely concerned about his friend and his porn addiction.
Exactly. I think there could have been better side character development, except for you will probably find out once you're in or book number 3 of this, because it's Beckett and Will, isn't it? You said?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you'll find out. And you can report back to me, because I will not be reading them.
that's fair. I can't wait. I'm so excited for that book. I think I have to wait a full year for that, give or take, but I am ready. Another thing I thought was worth talking about, which I'm actually kind of interested to see your opinions on this one. I have Ryder tagged as like endgame actual real life boyfriend.
You really like him.
I really like him. I think he's one of the few characters I've read in a romance book where I was like, that seems realistic. That seems like a human.
What made him so realistic to you?
He was flawed.
Yeah.
Like he was an asshole. But he was able to apologize for it.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to try. He fumbled his way through it, for sure. But like that's fine. He like made conscious decisions to try to like pick her up. And I'm pretty sure, did I write down the line? I did not write down the exact line, but there was a line that was something along the lines of like, "You fall and I'll pick you up."
Right. Yeah, I think that was actually like a chapter title or something.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like,
That was when she didn't make the Olympic team.
yeah, she's having a breakdown.
She was having a breakdown. I think that was the chapter title, and I think that the quote came in from that, because every time there was a chapter title, that ended up getting said in the actual chapter.
Yeah, and I was like, that's all I want.
Yeah.
I want to be able to make mistakes, and then I want a partner who's like, all right, well, like, you fall down, I'll pick you up.
Yeah.
I thought it was sweet. I also appreciate a man who will show up with apology flowers, as they should. And I thought the random days of celebration were hilarious.
Yeah, to like mask the fact that they were apology flowers
Yeah.
because he didn't want to be, yeah, the guy who brought you apology flowers because it's so soft. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was cute where he would like just show up with gifts and he'd be like, well, today is like International Donut Day, so here's your donut and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
thought it was adorable.
Yeah. Okay, my issue with that specifically was that he also had a lot of shame. Like he was ashamed of like bringing the flowers and all that stuff. Just like fucking own it, man.
Yeah, well, his childhood was kind of
Yeah.
the big player in that one. But he tried, and I was like, that's all I want. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try.
Hmm. I think where I don't know if it's that I disagree with like him being an endgame. I don't know that I would ever be attracted to that type of person, like just in general. Like I don't think that the broody, mysterious asshole who's got this hard exterior and you can't get any words out of him until you really get to know him kind of thing. Um I don't know if that's like necessarily my type. I think my issue was that it was kind of one dimensional, and I feel like I wouldn't have seen enough of him to know if he's like the actual end game. Like I don't think I got enough of who he was. It was just the smut stuff that really like I feel like I got for character development.
Do you think you might be a little stuck on the smut part?
Yeah, I think so
Okay.
because that was like the whole thing. It was really hard for me to identify when he started having actual feelings for her because even when I think that the feelings started, it was still completely associated with having sex with her. And I don't know that like I really got what changed from like the sex to the actual liking. It felt like it was so focused on that.
So, from my perception of this, he had the feelings before they started having sex.
Oh,
So, like, he used that as a gateway,
got it.
knowing that, like, it probably wouldn't have developed on its own otherwise because she was so frustrated. She was having such a hard time. She was so in her head.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's like, this is my in.
Right.
This is how I start this relationship, and then he can build from there.
He was lying to himself.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's fair.
So, I would say that's probably where things started.
I think I'm totally hung up on the smut. I think it was too much for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the more smutty books I've given you.
Yeah, there was a lot of it.
Because God
They
of
fucked in a
War
lot of places.
is
There
not
was the
that bad.
opera. There was the sauna. There was the shower. Uh, the bathroom. I can't say anything about that though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they fucked in a lot of places.
Yeah, they had a good time.
Hmm. Good for them. Honestly, good for them. I am positive about like they were having a good time and everything like that. I just didn't need it in the book all of the time. I'm happy for them. Don't get me wrong. Elephant in the room. They got married.
That fucking hilarious. Just hilarious. I love that. My text message to Jackie is just my wife in full caps with exclamation points. Like I knew she was waiting for me to get there too, and I just thought it was hilarious.
Well, I was very ready to not finish this book. Like I came here, I was like, I got 40 minutes left of this fucking book, and can you just tell me what happens? And you're like, no, something happens, and you need to consume it. And I'm like, for fuck's sakes, okay. So I'm walking around her house before we record, just like listening to this. And then all of a sudden, it was like my wife, and I was like, what? What? Oh,
Yeah.
they got married in Vegas.
Yep. As one does, apparently.
Shotgun wedding.
Which, like, great. Cheap.
Cheap. Fair. She had the money, though. Her dad could have paid for
Oh,
it.
yeah, don't worry, he does. They have an actual wedding in the second book.
Well, because he did bring it up at the end. He was like, I would really like it if I could walk you down the aisle.
Yeah, he was
Which was
like,
kind of cute.
yeah. Garrett Graham is also apparently, like, a wonderful character.
Okay.
I have that one on audiobook. I still have to listen to it. I bought it, like, 2 weeks ago, and I haven't gotten there yet.
His reaction, completely justified.
Oh, yeah, totally understandable. I was like, that's not... He took some time to process. He, like, got there totally fine.
I haven't. I didn't support the wedding.
No.
They should have dated for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm a no fun parent, I'm like, my maternal instincts are coming in, and I'm like, it's too young. I'm no fun.
How many people do you know that got married that young?
One
Only one?
close friend.
Okay.
I know like a lot of others. I grew up in a Mormon town. I
Yeah.
know a lot of them that did, but only one really really close friend. And even that, like Matt got married in 2018 or 2019. We were still like 23 or 24.
That would be 21. 2018 was like 6, 7 years ago.
Oh my god, it had to be in later than that then. It would have been 2020 or 2021 then. I'm
Okay.
still thinking that 2018 is like 3 years ago.
No.
It's not.
I was like,
Oh,
that math's not mathing. That's older than my
no.
AC unit.
It would have been 2021,
Okay.
COVID kind of area.
Yeah, because I know a ton of people from my small town got married between 18 and 22.
Almost all of the people that got married at that age that I know are super Mormon.
Yeah, mine were all religious too.
Okay, yeah.
No, they were all super religious.
Yeah.
But
I don't
his
know.
two were not.
I don't think that they were solid enough to make that decision. I think that that was an impulsive decision on their part that kind of like highlighted all of the like issues they were already experiencing in the whole situation, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be endgame. They might be. Like I when I do these romance books, I always think of like what happens in 30 years. Is this still like a healthy relationship? They might be okay.
I would think so, but who knows,
Yeah, who knows?
honestly. Um, both of us are unlikely to see the actual repercussions of those people in our real lives young marriages because they're religious. They're probably not getting
No.
divorced.
That's they are all end game unless they want to get disowned by their family,
Yeah. Um,
which I actually had seen happened once.
oh,
Yeah.
I purposely avoid everyone from high school except for my three close friends, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Interesting. I think at the end of the day with this book, I just would have enjoyed it more if they got to explore some of those more like complex situations, like the dynamics in the team and why those things happened and like the actual team building and coming together. It was just so brief for me where I'm like those are the stories that I'm interested in over the actual romance. But again, that's just like if I wanted that, I could go looking for those books.
Yeah.
Um Overall, like for a romance, it was cute. I think that the characters had a really good banter and repertoire. I think that the complications of their relationship definitely embodied the hockey scene very, very well. I wish that when everybody found out about Ryder and Gigi, things blew up more because I was kind of expecting it to be really catastrophic. Like, there to be a little bit more like, well, that's why Ryder wanted to be at this camp, and like I wanted Coulson and him to have a bigger blow up than they did. Like it was all very mature. Other than that,
I feel
it
like
was
they
all,
had their blow up earlier though,
yeah, they had a little bit of one.
when they all had that like big brawl at the frat party
Yes,
thing
yeah,
they had
yeah.
going.
Yeah, I kind of wish that after Coulson found out about them, though, that it would have been a little bit more catastrophic. I think that that was the direction that it was going, and it didn't happen.
I feel like Coulson didn't have a leg to stand on to be upset,
He
personally,
didn't. No, he sucked a little
after
bit.
cheating
Yeah,
real hard
I
and then
know.
lying about cheating.
Yeah, he didn't. No, for sure. I just wish he were to like lean into the un oh god, the irrational anger that I think was boiling up inside of him.
Because they'd also done quite a bit of like bonding by then too, I
Yes,
think.
exactly.
Yeah,
So like you finally trust this man and you're having a really great like hockey games and you're winning and all of these things and then you find out he's been lying to you the whole time and betraying your
yeah,
trust. Fuck that guy, beat him the fuck up or something.
yeah. Get a little bit more upset about it.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah. But overall, good book ish.
Okay, what are you giving it?
2.5.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I was 2.5 for me is I was happy when it was over. But I mean, again, it's just the genre. I think it's the genre more than anything.
That's fair. Yeah, it's just not your thing.
Yeah, but like even in a romance book, being able to explore some of like the sports stuff and the complexities of a team that really is struggling to bond and struggling to come together, like at least I got some of it. It wasn't as much as I wanted, but I mean, compared to some other romances, I think I would have preferred this.
Yeah, and I did get this one to you intentionally because it had like a female athlete in it. It focused around hockey. It had a little bit more substance. It is heavy on the smut though. Elle Kennedy is our college hockey romance
Yeah.
smut queen.
You're
Uh,
kind of fighting a losing battle for me when it's college romances,
yeah, that's fair.
but the addition of hockey helped.
There are not a lot of hockey romances that take place outside of college that I think are you would enjoy in any way, shape, or form.
It
Um,
helped that she played sports.
yeah, because it's really rare that she does.
I think I would have really struggled had she not.
Yeah, college hockey romances always kind of bother me in a sense that like one, they're inherently a lot younger than me, but also college and Elle Kennedy's Canadian for the record.
Hmm.
But like college hockey is not really a thing here,
Right.
and most people we know that make it to the NHL get there through like the WHL and the OHL.
Yeah.
They don't go through like
Or completely coming right from World Junior teams.
yeah, or World Junior teams, and it's only like a more recent shift that people have started like going to the U.S. and playing on college teams and doing the Frozen Four and all of that. So it's like I'm less familiar with that system, so I don't it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
interest me that much.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, like most guys I know who went to the NHL didn't do college hockey.
No. It's more common now though because there are some people I went to high school with who are in the NCAA right now playing like Div 1 or on farm teams and things like that, and that's the direction that they went, so it might just be becoming more common because you're a couple years older than I am.
Yeah, so I think that might be the big shift for me. But every time I read it, I'm like, I don't know a single guy who did college.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as common. Well, it wasn't as common, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
it's definitely becoming more and more common now, but it's just really interesting to see like the hockey romance landscape is very college focused.
Yes. Interesting.
And I don't haven't read a single one where someone comes up through one of the leagues
Yeah,
instead.
interesting. Hmm.
It'll be like a guy's already in the NHL and that's the book that's happening, and they'll have come up through a league,
Or it's going through the NCAA.
or it's going through the NCAA.
Huh. There you go.
Yeah, interesting hockey facts from hockey romances.
Well, that's all I have to say on this book.
That's fair. I think Graham Effect is a middle of the road
Mm-hmm.
book for me. Like I gave it four stars because I really enjoyed Ryder as a character, and I there were pieces of it where I was like, this is unique.
Yeah.
As far as hockey romances go, it's not the best, it's not the worst, but it did have a female athlete in it, so I figured if I was gonna give you anything, it'd be that.
I have to say, like, I don't have a lot of things to compare it to, but I can imagine that this one was one of the better ones to give to me.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have a ton of positive things to say, um, I can see how this was better than the others that could have exposed themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were fighting an uphill battle.
I really was on this one. I was trying really hard.
Yeah, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate it. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Give us a subscribe, a like, a follow. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Goodreads, TikTok, and Instagram at Haylee Johnson with a little underscore at the end.
And you can find me on all of those as Daria Can Read.
See y'all in a couple weeks.
Bye.